Well, it's a beautiful autumn morning here in northern Utah, and the colors on the leaves are changing very rapidly, and the snow's still on the mountain tops, and there's a nice little cool breeze along with the sun. So it's a great time to come out here and talk about women being triggered by you being the total package on semen retention. And a bit facetious I am being, for sure, but at the same time, it's also very true. And I'm not aiming to be a negative Nancy here or anything like that. What I'm actually trying to say is that there will be women who are triggered by you being in your masculine frame on semen retention. And I do want to welcome you all to another Semen Retention Sunday episode here on the Regal Change account. You see, most women nowadays are just simply not in their feminine at all. And it's not really their fault. It is their responsibility to clean up themselves to some degree, but the unfortunate truth is that we as men have allowed ourselves to worship the pink palace so much that we spiritually castrate our phallus. And semen retention is an antidote to this. Of course, it's not the end-all be-all, but it is a mode of being in which is going to enhance every aspect of your life. And you have to be mindful of how you're coming across to people on this journey, because you might notice even men will be triggered by you just being who you are. And you're not even trying to do anything. You're just chilling. You know, apparently in today's day and age, you know, it can be seen as someone that is rebellious to just be minding their own business and chilling out, doing their thing. And so what we have to do is to make sure that we are being in accordance to the social hierarchy and the social economic status, but because, you know, that is an important part of this life. You know, you want to, like, let's say if somebody asks you for how much you're making for your money, right? If somebody asks you, how much do you make? I never tell them the truth. I give them the vague truth, because really I'm transparent when it comes to people like that I'm actually in my circle with, because they're in my circle. But my circle is like 5 people. My inner circle of the people that I completely trust, apart from the Regal Change Academy community that we have, there's only like 5 people that I can, maybe not even that, because I don't really consider these people, they're not necessarily friends. They're more like brothers of the sword of truth, right? Like they're more like brothers to me than they are friends, because I don't really have friends. I have people that I'm building with, and I have people that I don't. And these kinds of people just so happen to be more like brothers to me than anything else. And the thing is like, when you are on this path, you have to recognize that women are going to respond differently to you, but you ought not to be doing semen retention because of the way women are viewing you. Yes, they're going to view you differently. They are going to respond to you differently, because look, a woman's submission is simply a response to your masculine frame. She doesn't really choose anything. Like, have you ever noticed those that have been on semen retention for a while, or they just have like their masculine frame really intact? Have you ever noticed that women just naturally submit to you? They might not like it. They might not even understand why they're submitting to you, but they feel like they have to. Well, that's just because you're in your masculine frame. And it's not like you're forcing them, but in that freedom, that presence of freedom, there's a sense of loyalty that you can inspire in a woman. You can inspire a sense of devotion. And unfortunately, you might inspire the devotion of a stalker kind of devotion from some of these women. You've got to be careful with some of the women that become stalkerish and triggered by you on semen retention, because that's another thing that I guess it could be considered part of this topic, is because women who are stalking you, if you've never had a woman stalk you before, you might be listening to this and you might think, well, I wish a woman would stalk me. I wish that. No, you don't. No, you don't, buddy. And, you know, I'll just leave it at that for the time being, because you see, women who become obsessed with you, you can't get them away from you. You really cannot get them away from you. And you have to almost be completely indifferent, even though you maybe are repulsed by her, or maybe you like her, but she's just a little too clingy or whatnot. She'll develop this into like a stalker thing. You've got to be very careful, because I've had multiple women stalk me over the past few years that I've been on semen retention. And one in particular was the most like Jezebel stalker that I've ever seen. And I was this close to calling the cops, because I had documented things for a while, and only when I was about to like, okay, if there's one more instance like this, because now I have enough evidence documented that I'm going to be able to call the cops here, and there's going to be something to be done about it. See, a lot of men think about this and they're like, oh, I wish I had that problem. No, you freaking don't, man. No, you don't. like yes, it's in some ways it's a better problem to have than having no women at all. But in other ways, it's way worse, man, because like I said, you don't know what these women are going to do. I've heard some really crazy horror stories of men who are in their frame and they're not even players. You know, they're not even players. And they're like gotten their car keyed and whatever. And it's just like, what? And they didn't even cheat. They didn't cheat or they didn't do anything. They just rejected the woman. And it wasn't because it's like there's some right, like, oh, I'm holier than thou kind of a thing either. It was just they didn't really want to be with her because they knew who she was and they knew who she was about. And she did not like that. So you've got to be very mindful of who you're communicating with and who you're, you know, trying to get to know. You have to learn how to read energy very quickly. Okay, and that's something else that you're going to be able to learn more on semen retention very naturally, is the energy of a person. I can almost feel when I look into the person's eyes. Sometimes I can just see plainly, like the spiritual domain when I look into their eyes. But other times it's like I can see that there's something that they're trying to hide within their eyes. And women sometimes have this twinkle in their eyes. They sometimes have this twinkle in their eyes where they make it seem like they're all into you. And they're really good at that. And then meanwhile, because they are into you, but meanwhile they have like a boyfriend or they have a husband or whatever. I literally just found out today, this woman just got engaged. Okay, she just got engaged, and she and I, we weren't like talking, but you know, we were communicating very flirtatiously for a minute, and you know, I wasn't trying to seduce her or anything, but I wanted to get to know her, and we definitely flirted a little more than she acted like she was single. I'll leave it at that. She acted like she was single, and come to find out, she's now engaged as of like the last few days or whatever. So this woman who this guy was probably planning to get married to her and propose to her long before she started to flirt with me as if she was single. This is the kind of energy you have to be very careful of on semen retention. You might be way more powerful than you think. If you have your finances in some kind of order, you don't even have to have everything perfectly lined out. But if you just have a plan and you're executing that plan, okay, with your finances. Number two, if you're just emotionally stable, you know how to emotionally regulate yourself. Number three, okay, you are in tune with God and you act in accordance to God's laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability. And you put God first. Do you realize the kind of man that you are? There's not very many men like you if you're this kind of person. There just are not. If you know how to lead your own life, You know how to be gentle with a woman, inspire devotion to her, but also she kind of fears you a little bit because she respects you. She doesn't fear you like going off on her. She fears that you're capable of not needing her. Okay, women want more than anything to be needed, and men need more than anything than to be needed. Men need to be needed, and women want to be wanted. And when a woman feels like she doesn't really have to be wanted, that messes with her ego, and she'll do anything. Because women are way more insecure than most men like to say and think. Even the most confident of women, in my experience, that I've seen, they're not necessarily insecure, but it's more like, how do I describe it? It's not like a fragileness. Well, it sort of is a fragileness. It's something that's fragile. Like, she's very pure and very innocent, and she's actually a good woman, and she's a kind, bold woman. But have you ever noticed that some of the most masculine men are most capable of being feminine when the time comes? And some of the most feminine women are capable of being masculine when the time comes? It's because they know how to balance their energy. It's because they know how to balance inside. And semen retention allows you to look into this energy aspect of life a little bit more with ease. And there's a sense of understanding that wasn't necessarily there beforehand. And I think that a lot of the times men, they get caught up in the platitudes of discourse and all of these, like, trying to get women, trying to get this, trying to get that. When in reality, if you were just capable of loving who you are and following Christ, you'd be able to do anything you want or need to in this life. It's really as simple as that. But the actions and how you actually, make those steps to get to that point, well, that's what's different. And ultimately this journey is about, number one, showing respect to yourself and to God for Him creating you. And number two, it's about honoring your sense of purity and your sense of playfulness, because if you're always going to play around with women, like, you're very promiscuous as a man, and yet you're the one, like, let's say, this is what I can't stand men who do this. They're watching porn, they're addicted to porn, they can't stop going on Instagram and such, and then they complain about the way women are, and it's like, that you're feeding into the issue, right? Like, you're complaining about yourself being the problem, right? And a lot of men don't want to hear this. I know it, because I've lost subscribers, I've lost followers, because men have gotten upset that I say it's actually not women. It's you that's the problem. It's you listening to women, and it's you listening to anything and everything that they have to say and taking it to be the truth, instead of just watching the way that they behave. If you were able to watch the way women behave and have some self-respect, a lot of your issues would go bye-bye, sayonara, see ya. They'd be gone. They would be gone. And yet, here you are, if you're this kind of person, complaining about women, not knowing how to get yourself together, and yet your biggest problem is looking up titties online and looking at titties through a screen. Do you understand the paradox there? Do you understand the juxtaposition there? It just baffles me how, like, it makes you scratch your head and, like, what are you thinking? I don't know what you're thinking, okay? I don't know how you're thinking the way that you do about this, and yet you're part of the problem. Have you ever considered that? It's something to consider. And the best way to not contribute to the problem is to just honor who you are and who God made you to be, and develop some self-respect. Okay, I understand that there's a lot of men that, they'll say that semen retention is maybe retarded or something like that, or they don't think that semen retention is it's a pseudoscience or whatever. And it's like, well, have you tried it? Have you tried not to play with yourself? Or somebody else will say, oh, it's so natural. It's so natural. Where do you see lions play with themselves in nature? Because if I see what I see when I look at somebody like a lion, or something like a lion rather, because I think lions have souls, I do think that. You can't look in their eyes and not think that, because their eyes are just so piercing with just this burning soul right inside them. But no, the male lions are always the one chilling. They're the ones that are chilling, and then the females are always trying to get their attention. That's exactly what happens to you on semen retention. And the same way the lionesses will do anything to get the male lion attention, when the male lion is just chilling in the sun, just enjoying the day. He had his meal. All he's got to do and worry about is just chilling, conserving his energy for in case a fight comes or a fight needs to happen. And the women are like, oh. The lionesses, for the women, they're all over him. Have you ever seen that before? Go look it up, because that's exactly what it's like when you're on semen retention. It's like the women can't help themselves, and they're going to be trying to do everything they can to get your attention, because they need your attention. They need that testosterone attention. That's just what it is. So women will be triggered by you. They might stalk you too on semen retention, especially if you're the total package. So you want to be careful. You want to be mindful who you're communicating with, and always show compassion and let them down easy if you have to. Always let them down easy, or just walk away from them. If they show any kind of form of disrespect, or you can see there's going to be a pattern of what it's going to be like, you don't even need to say anything. Just disappear, man. And I'm not saying that ghosting is always a good option, but if they disrespect you, yeah, just ghost. But if you're both showing interest, and she seems present, but she doesn't really seem like she's gonna be a mother for your child someday, and you've got to let her go, just let her down easy. Just tell her straight up. You don't need to beat around the bush. Just tell her that you have compassion for her, but you're not compatible. And that's it. It's really that easy and that simple. Life doesn't need to be so complex. But I do have an announcement. I have the Path of the Golden Lion free event, and I'm going to have the link to that in the description box below, where you can just register. It's going to be free. It's going to be in 3 weeks from now, November 9th. Yeah, November 9th. That's 3 weeks from now. November 9th at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And that's going to be where we're going to talk about Stoic principles in regard to semen retention. We're going to talk about how to connect with your nervous system, and just any kind of questions about semen retention in general is going to be, that's going to be the place where we're going to go to have that conversation. So you'll get the link after you register for the event. And if you want to join the Regal Change Academy in the meantime, go ahead and do so, and check that out in the link in the description box below. Check out my book, The Book of Oldishness, or set up a one-on-one mentorship call with me as well. I hope you all stay blessed. Peace. Until next time.